You are live. The Knicks finally win. They go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and fans can't afford to go. Because how much are tickets? $1,400, $700, $600, $1,000, $3,430. Are you kidding me? You can't even sit courtside. The closest they have to courtside right now is $25,000. And that's still somewhat limited in the back. That's this seat right here, if you can see it. To sit up front with the celebrities, but not all the way up front. No. Because you got to pay to play, baby. That's the world that we live in. And I'm talking to all the New Yorkers right now. You can't afford your own city. You might not be upset about that. You might think, okay, Broadway shows, World Cup tickets, Knicks tickets, Mets, Yankees. Oh, they're all expensive. They're just out of reach for us. Why? Because I don't make enough money. Is that really the problem here? Or is there a problem with pricing in this city? Of course, prices are elevated across the world. This is a commodity and a hot one at that. It is not a necessity. But does that mean that it should be out of reach for the average New Yorker? Or should we be fighting back? Should we be complaining about this? Or am I just supposed to go to free events, things that I can afford with my little, meager life? Do I not deserve to go to a Knicks game? Do I not deserve to go see a Yankees game, a Mets game? Or is this reserved for the few? That's the problem here. $600 for the cheapest ticket that you can find? The Knicks make the Eastern Conference Finals, and regular New Yorkers get locked out, get priced out. You want to take your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, your kid? That's $1,500 just on that single day alone. Half of Americans don't even have $500 for an emergency, be it medical or that. $500. And the asking price for the cheapest ticket here, and look at these views, by the way, they are awful. I'd rather watch it at home on TV. Of course, there's something to be said for being in the arena, experiencing the atmosphere. But these prices are exorbitant. And it's not about blaming the mayor or blaming any one individual in particular. But it is a problem, and we need to recognize that. Because to watch basketball, to actually watch your team in which you've supported for years, maybe your entire life, it's literally going to cost you an arm and a leg. You have to actually think about this purchase. Sports used to be blue-collar culture. Now it's all about hedge funds. Who do you think are going to these games? It's not the real fans. It's the people that are trying to schmooze the corporations, spending $20, $25 on a single beer. These fans don't want to watch the game. They just want to be there. They want to experience it. And tickets go to the highest bidder. Now, am I saying anything far-fetched? No. But again, collectively, there should be some angst here. I'm not asking you to go out streaking or anything. Madison Square Garden knows demand is insane. Are they doing anything about it? Ticket brokers know demand is insane. Are they doing anything about it? Are there lotteries in place that allow regular fans, what's a regular fan? That allow fans to go see their team? The resale market turns everything into financial speculation. So the people that have been supporting this team for 30 years which is the last time they actually saw real success, can barely afford to enter the building. And even if you can only go to one game, maybe. So what's actually happening here? The middle class is getting priced out. Entertainment, the culture we create, these experiences we cannot see because they cost too damn much. And before anybody says that nobody needs to go to a Knicks game, again, that is not the point. The point is people work hard, people support these teams, and increasingly, normal people can't participate in society anymore without going broke. So what can we do? Do we cap resale markups? Do we introduce lotteries? Do we reserve affordable seating? There probably should be restrictions on broker ticket hoarding. Because who's in the building is not the true fan base. And I experience it everywhere. Any game you go to for virtually any supermarket team, I'm talking, Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona. Well, Barcelona's a little bit of an exception. But the Mets, the Yankees, the Jets, most of these people are either breaking an arm and a leg to try to go to support their team, or it's these corporations buying the tickets and bringing in their prospective clients. And if you don't care, you don't care. But those are the facts. $700, $600 on a freaking ticket for what? 3 hours of entertainment? Would you even advise a family member to go do that? Well, if they want to. It's $1,500. No, I'd rather put that money in the stock market, get 10%, and just do away with the experience. It's a pain in the ass to see. And if we don't recognize it, no one's going to do anything about it. All right, let's go to our next topic, which is President Donald Trump has disclosed massive Q1 2026 trades. Thousands of trades across several different companies. He actually had to report this because of necessary ethics filings. And according to his disclosures, roughly 3,642 securities transactions were conducted during Q1 2026. That is an absurd amount of trading activity. And you know that he's not doing it. You know someone is doing it on behalf of himself. And when you're shoulder to shoulder with all of the CEOs that you're buying stock from, how do we not see this as a conflict of interest? I don't care what the White House puts out there. You are literally buying stocks. There has to be a conflict of interest here. And if you're okay with this, our leaders, they're supposed to be profiting while they're in office. We already have his entire family making money, making deals left and right. I mean, Jared Kushner is a spokesperson for the United States. He liaises on behalf of the United States voice. Let me repeat that again. Jared Kushner, which is Donald Trump's son-in-law, goes out there and speaks on our affairs. He speaks on behalf of Americans. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with your leaders profiting? What is the point of being the president of the United States? There are a plethora of quotes out there speaking about good leaders, altruistic leaders, way back in history. And philosophers, time and time again, have written that they should not be seeking monetary benefit. Now, of course, there's going to be an argument to be made that if everyone's getting rich, why can't he get rich? And if he's making good policy for the United States, who cares if he gets rich alongside it? I can't agree with that. I can't possibly agree with that. Should he be able to buy index funds? Sure. Individual stock names? How could you not see a conflict of interest with that? I mean, seriously, he is consistently speaking to these CEOs. He was just in China with all of them. I'm not asking you to be anti-Trump. I'm asking you, do you think the president of the United States should be able to buy individual companies? When you know that he sways all of domestic and foreign policy, he can implement trade tariffs, he can take them away. He can single-handedly make one of these stocks go up or down. And that's just with a mere tweet. That is a problem to me. You know what this tells me? This tells me that this is one of his priorities. It's very simple. I don't need to get up in arms about it. It is what it is. He's allowed to do it. He's taking advantage. But what does it say about his character as our president? I thought he was supposed to be on our side. I thought he was supposed to be for us. NVIDIA, Boeing, Intel, Palantir, Robinhood, Microsoft, AMD, Amazon, Apple, Broadcom. I've purchased all of these stocks. And the trades were concentrated in AI, semiconductors, aerospace, tech, defense, everything that he influences. The estimated transaction value between $220 and $750 million. He is already a billionaire. Now, officially, there's no accusation of insider trading, and the filings reportedly do not say whether Trump personally directed the trades. His business empire is managed through his kids, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and outside structures. But should presidents be allowed to own and trade individual stocks? That's the question. Or should his full interest and attention be focused on one thing and one thing only? The beneficence, the progression of the American people. And again, I always go back to this question. Has your life improved? It's not enough to like a leader. I'm a little older now. Doesn't mean I know shit, okay? I'm only, I'm going to be 37 years old. I don't know anything in this world. But once upon a time, I really liked Barack Obama. I thought he was charismatic. I loved his campaign. I thought he ran a very memorable one and a very effective one, just like Donald Trump did. Donald Trump ran probably the best campaign we've ever seen in modern day history. It was an incredible, I don't care if you don't like the guy. I don't agree with him on most of his policy, but he ran an incredible campaign. And so did Barack Obama. And I was enthused with him. I loved Barack Obama. I still love Obama. I still love watching, videos of him and hearing him speak. However, you have to ask yourself, did your life improve? The items on the docket, not necessarily the things that he was speaking about in his campaign, but the things that you were concerned with, whatever it was. Did those things marginally, incrementally, did they improve in your life? And as a result, did you gain a better quality of life? That's what you have to ask about your leaders. You can't just like someone. And that's what I did with Obama. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that's a wrong thing to do. I think that's fair. I'm going to trust you before you tell me not to trust you. Before you show me your actions that I can't trust you, I'm going to trust you. Doesn't mean I'm gullible. It means I have an open heart. It means that I'd like to collaborate with people. I'd like to speak with people. I'd like to develop relationships. I'm not going to shut anyone off. For the people that loved Barack Obama, ask yourself, did your life improve? Stock market certainly went up. He created a ton of jobs. Some people say he was weak on foreign policy. You remember what happened with Syria, where there was no retribution. Do you agree with him on healthcare? We got Obamacare, right? Which was something. You can't just outright hate a person or like a person. I think we're inclined to like people first, right? If you hate somebody, you really got to ask yourself, why do you have that much hate in your heart? But that's besides the point. But when it comes to assessing, not judging, because judging is left to God, in my opinion, but when it comes to assessing who our leaders are and how they lead, how they instruct, you have to look at their efficacy in perspective to your own life, because everyone is going to like or dislike. So a lot of people complained about Biden. Personally, one of the most important things to me is the stock market. I had a job during his tenure. I think we did, we got out of COVID, we created a ton of jobs, and the stock market went up. That was important to me. So my quality of life is measured against those tenets. You can't just like Donald Trump just because he's boisterous or he speaks your language, he speaks in layman's terms. You can't just you could do whatever the hell you want. Like him, don't like him, it doesn't matter. If you want a better America, if you want a better society, you have to look at the policies. And all I'm asking you is to look in the mirror and say, hey, did my life improve? Because if my life didn't improve, it doesn't mean you don't have to dislike Donald Trump, but then maybe he doesn't get your thumbs up for an approval rating. And that's how you grade things. That's how we move things forward. Just liking someone because of their charisma, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we're actually measuring political tenures, what does that do for society? Hey, I just really like Obama, or hey, I just really like Biden, but everyone around me is poor and they can't get a job and they can't afford a medical emergency. I mean, come on. Like, why would that make me happy if everything around me was impoverished? The president of the United States is trading individual companies. He is buying stocks like you and I. Maybe there's no difference. Maybe that's what you say. But he is negotiating tariffs. He is approving export controls. He moves markets. He meets with CEOs. He shapes AI policy. Semiconductors have now become a political weapon, a geopolitical one. Whoever has the raw materials, the semiconductors, the technology, these are being weaponized. We can either trade them with China and let them have our technology, let them be on our tech stack, which gives us some leverage, or we can withhold it from them, make them compete, advance our own economy, advance our own country, and maybe we win the AI revolution, whatever winning means. Now, there have been bipartisan pushes to ban individual stock trading for senators, members of Congress, and senior officials. Most proposals would still allow index funds, ETFs, blind trusts. I don't think anybody really should have a problem with that. You can buy ETFs. You can buy mutual funds. It's totally fine. You're buying an index of funds. But to be able to buy 1, 2, 3 companies, individual stock names, that's a problem. Again, I'm questioning what type of leader you are. What's important to you? To enrich yourself? Or to have generationally improved the lives of your people, of Americans, of the global economy? This isn't ever just about America. It's about all of us. We're all intertwined. We are attached at the hip. Your fellows, your brethren, your family exists in all 4 corners of the world. When you get off of a plane and land somewhere, you should be looking at those people, as your family. We are all one species. We are humanity. Our leaders should be thinking this way. We are way too myopic. We have tunnel vision on. This is how we win elections. America first. We're the best. We have to put our interests first. That doesn't make any sense. Why even have one trade agreement? We need each other. We need every economy that is out there. Economically, financially, agriculturally, societally, we're all intertwined. You know what really shocks me about us versus them mentality? And it doesn't make sense. The experiment will always fall flat. Let me just give you an example. If I were to walk outside right now and get hit by a car, God forbid, there wouldn't be an individual around me that wouldn't be trying to save my life. Every single person within my vicinity would come to my aid. That speaks a lot about our species, doesn't it? Right? Because what we see now is black, white, Asian, old, young, poor, rich. What we see now is divide. That's why isolation is extremely dangerous. This is why our leaders around the world should be getting together continually. That's what we see before a tragedy. But if the tragedy occurs, what happens? Everyone would have their hands on their heads. Everyone would have concern. We care about each other intrinsically, inherently. But the facade on the outside is what causes damage and destruction. And we have to fight that. And it becomes more difficult when we have leaders that are antagonizing our fellow people across the world. Remember, borders, lines around the world on this globe, they're all just drawn. That's it. Everyone wants to protect their sovereignty. There is no difference between a person in the United States, person in Spain, a person in China. There's no difference. We want good leaders. We want leaders that aren't caught up in trading individual stocks. Even if nothing illegal happened, the appearance of the conflict of our leaders trading these stocks, it damages trust. What are you trying to do exactly? Are you working for the American people? Or are you just trying to benefit you and your family? And on top of it all, you already have billions of dollars. When you exit this tenure, you're going to make millions, if not billions more. Why do you feel compelled to do it? President Trump, why do you feel compelled to do it during your tenure? The next thing we're going to get to is we're going to go back to Taiwan. Because Taiwan is extremely important here. And President Trump, he's going to have to make a decision. Because President Xi Jinping, he has warned Trump repeatedly over Taiwan. And that's why our policy, our disposition is strategic ambiguity. They don't know whether the United States would defend Taiwan in the case of an incident, or whether we would just let China take them over. And Xi Jinping warned Trump that mishandling Taiwan would lead to clashes and even conflict. Trump reportedly has not decided whether to move forward with a multi-billion-dollar arms package for Taiwan, and apparently that decision could come within the next few weeks. When asked about his stance on Taiwan and whether the United States would defend Taiwan, Trump reportedly told Xi, I don't talk about that. I don't talk about that. That's what our foreign policy is on Taiwan. I don't talk about that. It's pretty damn interesting. I mean, we're talking about two nuclear powers here, and our position on it is I'm not going to speak about that. Trump goes on to say that he's the only person in the world that knows whether the United States would defend Taiwan in the case of a Chinese invasion. The United States intentionally avoids fully committing or fully rejecting the idea of military intervention. Is this clever? Is this weak? I personally don't think that we would defend Taiwan. Why would we defend Taiwan? I'm surprised China hasn't already taken them over. Remember what they did with Hong Kong? Hong Kong tried to fight back. I actually got to visit Hong Kong right before they were taken over, before 2020. Remember, the British had a 50-year ruling, so they had, dominion over Hong Kong for 50 years. It was an agreement which expired, I believe, in 2020. Hong Kong revolted, they protested, they shut down the airport. I remember they were destroying the subways. This was a youth-led movement in Hong Kong. And ultimately, China took over. It's going to be fairly easy for the Chinese to take over Taiwan. That's what it looks like geopolitically. Of course, why does Taiwan matter so much? They are the semiconductor center of the world. They manufacture the majority of our advanced AI chips, which goes into pretty much every form of technology we have. So Taiwan is not just political. It's AI, it's semiconductors, it's military systems. It's a jumping off point should we ever go into war with China. And Trump has to answer. And then the question is really for the audience here. Would you want us to fund $1 billion, billion-dollar arm package to Taiwan? I think most people in the world would agree that they deserve their sovereignty. I think most people in the world, agree that Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, they all deserve their sovereignty. Most people don't want to bother other people. Yet that is what our policy has been time and time again. Our leaders, right? It's very important not, in my opinion, not to blame the country. We cannot blame Americans. This is not an American problem. I mean, you can call it that. You can call it whatever you want. This is a leadership problem. The problem is our global leaders. The problem is not the people living in that country. And what do you think would happen if we actually bombed Taiwan? I'm sorry. What do you think would happen if the Chinese took over Taiwan? If the US does nothing, you're not going to care. You're going to say, yeah, good. I don't want to meddle in other countries' affairs. Taiwan is, I don't know, 9,000 miles away? What the hell do I care? And if we do something about it, well, our government will probably try to convince you that this is absolutely necessary. We cannot let that piece of land, that piece of strategic land, be taken over. But guess what's going to happen to the Taiwanese? They're just going to keep on living. It would probably be an extremely desolate life, a tumultuous, a terrible period for them, but they're going to keep on living. When bombs are being dropped over your head, what do you think the people in Iran and Gaza, you have to keep on living. You still have to go to work. You still have to go to your job. You still have to go to the supermarket. You can't stop living. The difference is that the people of that country that are now at war because of these leaders have to now exit their house with a newfound risk, a new and imminent danger. But you can't blame the people for that. You have to blame the leaders. And again, this isn't about blaming. This is about, hey, what the hell are you doing? One question is to China. Why the hell do you have to take over Taiwan? Why? Why is Taiwan yours? Why? Leave the people alone. The other question is to the United States. Why would you defend another country? Unless we truly are the global police. And we've seen we've contradicted ourselves way too many times. Because again, why the hell we bomb in Iran? Why do we support Israel when they bomb Gaza? How could you, How could you? You can count the leaders in this world that cause us problems. And it's a damn shame. It's really a damn shame. Everybody out there is trying to keep up. We're trying to make ends meet. We're living the rat race. We're going through the cycle every day. These people, these leaders, these global leaders, they have access to all of our resources. Right? They have access to all the money, the military, trade agreements, policy. Who do you think these people are fighting for? They're usually never fighting for the people. That's just the fact of the matter, man. They're usually fighting for their best interest, but disguising it as the interest of the country. Can both of those agendas move in parallel? Sure they can. But it's highly questionable when, again, most of these actions don't make sense. Like, again, supporting Israel, bombing Palestine. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I think 99% of the world would not agree with what we're doing in that region. And then profiting and making yourself rich. I don't see how those two agendas don't collide. And if you were truly a wise and altruistic leader, then you would realize that money doesn't buy happiness. We already know that. That's been proven a million times over. And if you were solely working for the beneficence of mankind, for the beneficence of the people of either your country or the globe, then why on earth would you be trying to enrich yourself? It's a damn shame. And we need to not only hold these people to a higher standard, but we need to challenge them. Because when you don't agree with policy, that's common sense, not to the untrained eye, to the everyday man. When policy does not make sense, you shouldn't just blindly agree with it because you are some patriot or you like the candidate that's in office. You should be challenging it because it not only helps you, it helps your family, it helps your friends, it helps your neighbors, it helps everyone around you. Netflix is becoming cable again. Netflix just raised their prices from $17.99 to $20 a month. That's for an ad-free plan. So what was the point of cutting cable again? Because you realize that history doesn't always repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. We are now approaching $27 per month for Netflix ad-free plans. Extra household members, more charges. You want 4K, even more charges. So at what point did streaming just become cable again? Now you have to understand why prices increase. Of course, we have inflation, everything costs more. And if you want to be the content king, you have to pay for it. You want NFL, NBA, MLB streaming rights, you got to pay for it. Netflix just launched their UFC debut on the streaming service. This costs even more money to bring in that content, and win those contracts. So you now have these standalone providers: Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, HBO Max, Prime Video, YouTube TV, Apple TV, Paramount Plus, Peacock. It is exhausting. It is nauseating. And when you're spending on multiple subscriptions, it just adds up to the same cable bill. So where did we save money again? Maybe we should just stop watching TV, because we're all moving towards $100 a month again. But see what happened? Prices were slashed. Now prices start to rise again, right? We were up here with costs. Now prices start to rise again, but slowly but surely, right? They find a way to seamlessly do it until you don't even realize what your bill is. I remember when internet used to cost, $40, $50 a month. $60, $70, $80 for internet. That's your internet in your house, another $80 to $100 on streaming services. Some people still have cable and they have, an add-on like Netflix or Disney Plus. So this is basically what cable used to cost. And again, this was predictable. The hot commodity right now, again, are sports rights, exclusive shows, live events, and they have to continually upgrade their infrastructure. These companies have to compete. So prices are just going to keep going up. Every subscription at some point is going to cost $30. How many subscriptions are you going to have? 3 of them are going to cost you $100 a month. Netflix alone reportedly spends $20 billion annually on content. This includes sports, original programming, live events, and global expansion. So subscription prices will continue to rise, but now consumers should also realize that streaming didn't eliminate the cable model. It fragmented it, and now prices are creeping back up again. And the reason why we raise this is because there should be awareness here to either cut these streaming providers, because we don't necessarily need TV, and we definitely don't need all of these services. And to put things in perspective, you could take this money, there's a huge opportunity cost here, right? You could take this $80, not watch TV, read some books. I'm not even joking here. Read some books, watch YouTube for free. Of course, you can't do away with your internet, but save this $80 a month and invest it. Make your 10% a year. That to me is a much better alternative. So Tennessee is banning the book Roots. One of their largest school districts has just banned the book. This is a Pulitzer Prize winning book. It is considered one of the most important works in American history. It was written by Alex Haley, pictured here. The book traces the story of Kunta Kinte, right? I got to say that right. Kunta Kinte. an African man captured and sold into slavery and follows generations of his descendants in America. The book became a cultural phenomenon. Again, Pulitzer Prize winning work, one of the first major mainstream depictions of the Middle Passage, slavery, and the brutality of the transatlantic slave trade. If you've seen the movie, it is tragic. And now the book is banned. It's banned in a school district in the South. Of course, the North and the South, we had our Civil War here in the United States. And this is part of a growing list. More than 100 books have been removed in this particular district. And what we want to bring up here is the idea that if you control education, you control books, you control the curriculum, then you control how future generations understand history. The historical narrative can only be told by what the present allows. This is why history is so important, because what we actually write in text matters tremendously. If you take this away from people, you take away this exposure, then you effectively impact the parts of history society chooses to remember. Now, this was an extremely uncomfortable and unpleasant part of our history. But reading about it is how you confront it. Reading about it shortens the gap. Because if you don't read about such a treacherous history, then how do you know where you came from? How do you know how this nation developed? You should understand that we committed atrocities. You should understand that man showed extremely evil tendencies. You should understand that we were misaligned. We were malevolent. We were wrong. That's what this book is depicting here. It showed the brutality of how we were treating our fellow human beings. This isn't about black people. It's about nothing. Of course, it's about black people, but there were many different people that were slaves. Of course, this depicts black people from Africa. But when you remove this from our curriculum, you take away a chance from our children to be able to understand, again, our history, where we come from. How could you possibly understand slavery, race, American history without engaging with books like Roots? And it is a tremendously written book. It is a great movie, at least the version that I saw. Because whether history is painful, uncomfortable, or politically inconvenient, which is extremely important, it still happened. What do you think I'm going to tell my kids? You think I'm going to tell my kids, oh yeah, slavery never happened, and yeah, black people are just equal to white people, and Spanish people are equal to white people and everything? Of course, we're all equal. I definitely believe that. Equality, without a doubt. There's a lot of people that don't believe that. However, equity is what matters here. There is a difference. If I'm born taller than you are, then society has to do something to fill that gap, right? If I can see over the fence and you can't, then we need to put a stool there for you or give you some type of supplement so that we can bring about equity in the world. Black people, Spanish people, anyone that's not white, unfortunately, historically, in this country, which we can control, this is our domain, have been mistreated, not just poorly. That is just such an understatement. We have treated these people not like people, not even like animals. And it goes against God, and it goes against human instinct. We love first. I firmly believe that. We always love first. Why would you remove a book like this? So that hate can fill the void? Because the less we understand about the Black people's plight, the less we understand about marginalization, that only does society worse. If I don't understand what my fellow people have gone through, I can connect less and less with them. This is why we learn languages, so we can speak to one another on the same frequency. If I understand where these people came from, what challenges they faced, I can connect with them a whole lot better. This is why I think traveling makes for a well-rounded individual, because when you go see the issues that other countries are facing, it helps put, especially from the American perspective, it helps put things into context for you. I certainly want my children to know what happened to Black people. I want them to understand what slavery was. I want them to understand our history, our global history, our American history, because this is the way things work. The powerful will take. The powerful will pillage. The powerful will dominate. And that is not fair. And that is not good for society. What is good? It isn't beneficial for all of humanity. It concentrates the power with the few at the top. And as the pyramid goes, the overwhelming majority will suffer. What is it? Millions of slaves had to suffer? Why? We had people on plantations owning dozens of slaves. Are you kidding me? For what? The benefit of what? One family? Even if it was a dozen families, even if it was 1,000 families. If you cannot acknowledge that slavery was wrong, hey, listen, I'm all for debate. That's what this show is about. However, we can debate on a lot of things. One of the top arguments is transgenderism, or what age we should be able to drive or drink or join the military. We can argue about those things all day long. And maybe there's a right and wrong. This is a right and wrong. There should be no human being that should be enslaved on this earth. Full stop. You're taking away a book that is world renowned and wiping it from history. Because there are going to be many people that will never be exposed to this book. For what? Is there some political agenda? Is it just happenstance that, we're fighting over statues and we're fighting over books and we're pulling back DEI, we're eliminating affirmative action? Is it just a coincidence that this is all happening in such a polarizing time? Of course it's not. The people that be, the powers that be, are in charge of all of this. And they are rewriting history. That's how impactful this is. I don't agree with it. This book should definitely stay in circulation. But what I also always consider is the education of children, of our children, right? In which we need to steer, right? That's why we have parents and guardians, always needs to be supplemented by the parents and the village, right? It takes a village to raise a child. It needs to be supplemented by that village. So what do I mean by that? You get your curriculum in school through the educational system. And when that kid comes home, there's the second part of that education, which means they're going to be exposed to different types of histories and cultures and books and different type of periodicals. And you need to expose your child to that. So there is a great amount of onus that's on the parents to make sure, and the guardians, right, to make sure that that our children are exposed to this type of history, because there is a truth and we shouldn't be hiding from that truth. Thanks for watching.